Good evening, everyone, and welcome to October edition of Freedom Friday. I am so excited that you are here. Listen, we have another spectacular, wonderful guest this month. I'm so excited to have our guest here, and I'm going to introduce you to her shortly. Great information. I'm excited. Um, I normally do a lot of talking, but tonight I'm probably going to be doing a lot of listening because what we're talking about tonight is so important and a lot of people don't know about it. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So, you know how I do this every month, right? The purpose of our Freedom Friday lives is to I'm having a conversation with candor, which is frankness, openness, honesty, that really focuses on how soft skills, methods, and practices are the solution to bringing godly change to our nation and the world by reaching the seven mountains or the seven spheres of social influence. And this is a model, as you've heard me say, that I was introduced to me many a couple of years ago, and I was fascinated about it. And it's the truth. In order to change our nation, you know, find your lane and get in it. So we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end here. So, what are soft skills? You know me. You should know this by now, but I do it anyway. Soft skills are really those desirable qualities or transferable skills that do not really depend on acquired knowledge. Some of the soft skills I always talk about are, creativity and innovation, conflict management, time management, stress management, um, effective communication, critical thinking, one of my favorite, emotion intelligence, storytelling, and work ethics, and the list goes on. So these are the soft skills to look at. So my guest tonight, I always do this, ask questions. She's gonna explain to you which mountain that she's conquering, or mountains, because like myself, a lot of people have more than one social spheres of influence that you're actually involved in. And we're going to talk about how soft skills are critical for her ministry and exactly what she is doing. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to pull up her bio and read her bio for you. So my guest tonight, she's a registered nurse. And she's registered and faith the community nurse for over 25 years. She founded a nonprofit organization called Caregivers Respite in 2010 out of her own experience of giving care for her father. She's passionate about seeing family caregivers like herself succeed by being more informed and taking care of themselves. She served in the medical field for over 20 years. She's very passionate about ensuring that family caregivers are supported as they care for their loved ones. She served as director of Caregivers Respite for the last 10 years, where her sole purpose is to ensure family caregivers are able to take care of themselves while they are providing care for their loved ones. She's also, and goes right along with what she does, she's a life insurance agent where she specializes in assisting family caregivers in preparing their own care. And boy, it's a lot of things I didn't even know. But since 2011, she's facilitated support group meetings for caregivers for the past 10 years. She's hosted over 16 conferences to give resources and support to caregivers. And she's also she has two publications, two books. Some of the things, previous speaking engagements, she's spoken as a speaker for the VA Caregiver Summit, 20 concern for caregivers talks through the Mid-South. She's been a caregiver rest conference, a speaker, 2010 through 2019. Preparing to Care conference. She's been a speaker, a presenter at the 2018 Westburg Symposium, and also to a presenter in June of 2019 of the National Suicide and the Black Church Conference. She's also to concerns for caregiver chats. So there's a lot more that she has done, but I want to introduce you tonight to my special guest, Miss Janice Williams. Hey,
Hey.
Janice, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing outstanding. Doing outstanding.
Good. Listen, thank you so much for being my guest tonight. I'm so excited to have Janice, and Janice is. I'm not going to tell the whole story because we'd both be in tears if I did. But Janice was there for me. We used to go to church together, and it was a difficult part of my life. She was there. She called and checked on me for every day for 7 days to make sure I was okay. She is such a
Wow.
wonderful, giving. When you talk about look, giving person, you can ever want to meet. So I am so happy to have you, Janice, tonight to talk to us about exactly what you do. And just look, just you take it away.
Oh, wow. Wow. So I just want to also thank you, Miss Price. This is truly an honor. Like you said earlier, we've met years ago, and even the accolade that you just gave me as far as calling you, I really, when you hear stuff like that, um, you never think of it the way the other person thinks about it.
Mm-hmm.
You just really kind of following your way and trying to follow God and say the right things or hear what you need to say to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want to thank you because uh, that meant a lot to you, and I really never knew that. And so just thank you, and I just appreciate all the accolades. And yes, I have been busy over the last 12 years. I really have to update my bio a little bit.
Okay.
Um, I actually presently am a caregiving coach
Okay.
and
Yeah.
a consultant. I started consulting officially this year, and it's to make sure caregivers are built up in such a way um, that continues their journey.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned earlier that I started Caregivers Respite um, through a difficult time with my father. Actually, he got sick and he went through so many levels of care overnight, and really, God got my attention.
Okay.
And even going back a little bit more, when I say Caregivers Respite, it was an organization that supports family caregivers. And I really been in the medical field, as you read earlier, a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But I really wasn't prepared to care for my father. And it really was something, even as you talk about it now, or I reflect on it. Uh, the only way I kind of really got over that situation is because of the next step that God brought me to, which
Mm-hmm.
was actually supporting family caregivers. And through that, I actually healed. But, my dad went through so many levels of care overnight. I jumped out of nurse role into caregiver role, which is totally different.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, cared for him with other relatives until he passed.
Okay.
And I actually tell people that um, if my dad had continued to live, I would be taking care of him now. but he didn't. So I get to take care of you. And I'm referring to family caregivers. And
Okay.
so the last 12 years have really been a journey. But I'm going to tell you, among that supersedes anything, it's been a blessing.
Okay.
A blessing. And what I mean by that is, and stop me if I'm rambling.
No, no, no. You're fine.
Hmm.
One question I wanted to ask is, you talk
Hmm.
about, your background and everything. Um, when did you pivot? When was what happened or caused you to pivot? It's like, you know what, I'm going to make this out of I call it ministry. When did that happen?
Um,
Like that aha moment, like, you know what, God,
so you're referring from caregivers respite to where I am now?
well, yeah, to when I know you said after your dad passed.
Hmm.
Was this in the making then, or was just when did kind of pivot to become as big as it is now?
So I'm so glad you said that, and that's actually what I was about to say,
Okay.
because I mentioned it. It was a blessing,
Uh-huh.
and here's how it went. Family caregivers go through so many things, right?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I often tell people that society expects you to be the greatest communicator, the greatest financial planner, the astute on how to do all these things. Um, and so one day I was just upset. I was frustrated.
Uh-huh.
I was thinking so many things, but God got my attention. And here's what he said to me. He said, uh, Janice, do you want the blessing? And I ignored him because I was upset and I wanted to be in my own issues, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
And then he asked me again. He said, Janice, do you want the blessing? And then I said, well, yes, Lord, I want the blessing. And I found out the blessing was, after my dad died, was to start supporting family caregivers.
Okay.
And through that blessing, it really changed my life. One thing, I met so many fabulous people and still meeting them today.
Mm-hmm.
For another thing is what I mentioned earlier, I got a chance to heal. And another thing, um, it had really turned into a ministry to me, and it's still a ministry to me right today. And it I could go on and on of what the blessing really meant, but the pivoting part
Mm-hmm.
came from hearing the voice of the Lord, because um I was really thinking so many other things. And here's what God does. And here's what I found strength in. Just like he redirected me that day,
Mm-hmm.
if you come to me and you ask me this, and this, and Janice, I need this, I will tell you. Then if you start complaining, I'm going to redirect you because I know it's a blessing in this. As hard as it is, as overwhelming as it is, as negative as it can be, as tiring, as draining, as dot dot dot. Just like God got my attention, I feel like He allows me to redirect so people stay on the right course
Mm-hmm.
till it manifests into what God really wants it to be. And let me just tell you one testimony of taking care of my father. My father, he was so self-sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
He did everything for himself. And I often think, what was I thinking? This 89-year-old man taking himself to the doctor. had his own friends, go to the store, cook his own meals. And sometimes I call him, I said, Dad, do you need anything? You know what he would tell me? He said, No, I don't need anything. I'm just gonna go in here and fix my breakfast and cook me this. He would just love breakfast. He talked about this elaborate breakfast he was fixing. Fried egg and some grits and some this and that. And I would say, okay. And then he told me that one day, and I thought about, I mean, I was listening to him and I hung up the phone and something came over me and said, you better go check on him. So I got in the car, Sarita, and went to go check on him. And sure enough, when I got there, he was eating an elaborate breakfast, but he was eating out the pot. So
Oh.
he didn't have enough strength to take care of himself. And ever since then, I started paying more attention to him. I started jumping in and I would tell my father, Dad, do you need this? Do you need that? And he never would say yes. He never did. He never did ask for help. Never. But I'm watching him going down. He's going down. Okay. But he never asked for help until one day we just had to come in and do some things without his permission, okay? And then I asked him, I said, well, Daddy, how do you want us to take care of you? And you know what he said, Sarita?
Mm-hmm.
He said, well, you won't have to take care of me because I'm going to beat this. And he later died, but that's why I always tell family caregivers, you may never get the permission. They may never say, okay, do this. I need your help, but be prepared and be ready to come on in because he never did ask for help.
Wow.
And that's what the kind of guy he was, because he was that man that took care of, he ran a business, he did this, and very self-sufficient. And I understand that because nobody wants to lose their independence, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But he was independent to that day. You know what I
Wow.
mean? And so I mean, don't get me wrong now. In his mind, he was independent.
Mm-hmm.
But he was, some days he could not do for himself. But we were there. But and all of this has been a blessing to me because one thing about it, my dad really never told us that he loved us. I mean, well, me, okay? And
Mm-hmm.
so I never did hear that. He told us he loved me when the bills were paid and when food was on the table, okay? That's how he was saying it. But
Mm-hmm.
one day I said, well, Daddy, he was saying something. And I said, Daddy, well, I love you like that. And guess what he said? He
Mm-hmm.
said he loved me back.
Oh, wow.
And so I would tell anybody, I know God has anointed me to give you that redirection because you never know when you get that gift that you've been waiting for. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah. Wow. So within that testimony, and it just something just came to mind, and you may, I'm gonna have to get your book, by the way, Janice. You may have this in there.
Mhm.
So one of the things I hear you saying is even though your parents or whoever you're caring for, they may not ever say, they may say, I'm fine, but you still need to have that in your mind. You still need to check on them because you never know really what they say they're fine. They probably just have gotten accustomed to because, and then again, and you can elaborate more. There's sometime I'm sure as we all get older. I mean, I'm not in my 20s anymore, or what have you. Certain things you can't do as like you used to, and that frustrates them. So, can you kind of talk about the mental aspect of that, on far as the caregiver as well as the person you're caring for? And I
And
guess
so
we can talk about soft skills. What do you see? Kind of work that in there.
so You said so much, and I may not capture everything that you just said,
Hmm.
but more than okay, let me go back a little bit. So typically, what we find
Hmm.
is that people don't self-identify as a caregiver.
Okay,
They'll say
this
my
is good.
mom, they'll say my dad, they'll say my husband. And in their mind, they automatically think that what they're doing for that loved one is their job to do anyway. So they don't give them the title, they don't receive the title of caregiver. And quite honestly, when they don't receive the title of caregiver, then you're going to have to really work with them to receive that. We do a lot of awareness on that topic.
Okay.
And we do that because if you don't be aware, you won't really understand what you're really doing.
Okay. Okay.
And so with that, um, you mentioned soft skills. Soft skills are a lot of the skills that you just really mentioned are the skills that anybody who works needs to accomplish, right? Encompass, right?
Exactly.
And
Yes.
guess who, what a family caregiver does? That's a job.
Hmm.
So, as I mentioned to you before, I said we expect you to be the best communicator, the best financial planner. How do you think you get those things done? Through communication, through stress management. I mean, so they're interchangeable. And
Hmm.
so, as a person who has an aging parent, okay? So we, I'm just going to tell you something that I just encompassed
Go
2 days
ahead.
ago, okay?
Sure. Go
So
ahead.
uh, I was at a like a fair, health fair or whatever, and I asked this lady, and she happened to be 65 because she said she was retired.
Hmm.
And I asked her, and I said, do you take care of any sick family member or loved one? She said, no, I can't think of anybody. I said, well, do you have an aging parent? Do you work? Do you live in a neighborhood for a long, long time? Do you go to church? Because these are all places that family caregivers live. They're in fact they're right down the street. But anyway, so I asked her like that, very, very specifically because I know what I was asking. And so she said, well, no, she said, uh, well, she did say yes. Yes, I have a parent, but she does good. She's 80 years old and she lives in another state and she takes care of herself, go to the doctor and all like that. I said, okay. I said, well, do you ever go get her medicines? I said, do you ever check on her? And she said, well, yeah, I do. And but my brother, he lives there. And then she kept talking. She said, my mother takes care of my brother. I said, oh, your mother takes care of your brother. And I told her a few more things. And I said, well, ma'am, you a family caregiver. You just happen to be long distance. And I said that um, your brother and your mom is taking care of your brother. I said, whose responsibility would that fall on if something happens to your mother? And she said, me. I said, oh. I said, well, you need to come to these events because what I'm saying for a person who um, has an aging parent or dot 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 is that you want to be proactive instead of reactive.
Exactly.
And I
Exactly.
see that too many times. And you know why I say something? Because I can. You know why I say something? It's because I was in the same position. My dad was 89, driving, taking care of himself, going to seeing his friends. I mean, Yes, we're not saying anything's going to happen to them, but yes, just like she and we were in the same boat because I didn't recognize what I was dealing with. I didn't recognize what was really happening. And
Mm-hmm.
so on the other end, you have maybe an aging parent. And I don't know about many parents, but I know about the old school ones, okay?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the ones who didn't want to share their personal information with nobody. I'm talking about the ones who really kept the personal conversation with the adults, and not the children are not welcome. You know what I mean? I
Yes.
mean the parents that kept their accounts private and their insurance policies private and so many things, and they never made it easy. I was just telling you that my dad, he was already sick. And I'm asking him, how do you want us to do this? He never did ask for help. So I understand independence. I
Mm-hmm.
understand not wanting to give up or cross certain barriers. I understand that we can go all our lives not having hard conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But here's where the two marry, Miss Price. So we can't do that anymore. Because during COVID and all of the changes, people were calling me left and right. They said, Janice, the doctor wants to know right now what I need to do. Do I need to keep them on this? Do I need to stop this?
Wow.
People are still calling me talking about somebody died in their family, not only one person in a week, but two. So can, all of that is gone now. And really, um, we can't do that anymore. So where they marry is where I stand, is that we have to be proactive instead of reactive. The things that I've seen over the last 12 years, I don't intend to address them the same.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, if you read my book, um, I had like somebody to kind of proofread the book for me. And they said, well, Janice, you could put this way. I said, and then when they changed it, it didn't really have the same meaning because this is how I speak. How I speak is how I write. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I'm sounding the alarm, and I mean to sound the alarm. I mean that 53 million family caregivers in the US. These are the ones who identify, right? And this was post
Wow.
COVID. And so now it's all about the proactive. So even thank you for having me today because we talking about caregivers, but I'm talking about respite. I'm talking about being proactive instead of reactive. And not all the time will people identify with caregiving. So this is what this tells me is that all people need to hear this message.
Yeah. And I'm gonna interject for a minute. I know briefly, and we'll come back to because I want you to explain exactly what respite is. You and I talked briefly. We talked about how to get the younger generation sound the alarm for them because most of the millennials and the Gen Zs, their parents are in their some Gen Zs, I mean their parents in their late 30s, 40s, so they're like in their 40s and 50s, some 60s. So like I'm 52, I'm up doing well, whatever, so you don't really think about that. But what is your message to the younger generation to really start putting this in their mind? Just because, your parent is up well and healthy and moving or whatever. I don't really consider 50, 52 old, but you never know. Kind of talk about that, how to get them engaged, to really like the light bulb need to click on.
You really want me to say this?
Listen, the name of this is called Conversation with Candles.
Well, I have my thoughts, and so if I could go back a little bit and let me just take age out of it, okay?
Okay.
So you're more apt to be uh more vulnerable or more accepting or more your ears are open when you go through a death, when you face a sickness,
Mm-hmm.
um you know and I understand that, because our eyes are kind of like, wow,
Yep.
and going back in my own life, I don't want you to think that I got it right all the time. I did not. That's the reason why that pivotal point of actually God speaking to me, but me listening.
Mm-hmm.
Cause really, God be speaking a lot of times, and I probably didn't get it. He probably had already told me to do certain things, but I didn't get it. I did not get it. So do I always expect somebody to get it? No. And I just know this as well, that there's been different levels to this for me.
Okay.
Um, one level has to been to just I was on full rescue mode. You know, I was gonna make sure everybody was okay. But even if I was, even as some people ask me, they'll say, "Well, Janice, who are you trying to reach?" Um, and so I know we all have a specific. Any organization has a specific or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that a couple years ago, and I really did not listen. Okay, God was really shifting me, and I didn't want to go because nothing else was around me like that. And He does that to us sometimes.
Oh, yes.
He wants you to go this place. And I said, well, I can't do that. And and to be honest with you, it was the same way 10 years ago when he told me to do Caregivers Respite. Because I remember calling one person and I really didn't know what God was trying to do. And I was calling, I was like, I'm gonna do this for caregivers, and uh could you help me? And I said hello, and the person hung up in my face. And that's funny now, but to a person in transition looking for direction or something to hold on to, it could be a little overwhelming. But uh to finish that statement, I called somebody else and they did the same thing. Then the third person I called, they said, yeah, I can help you. And so even reaching the people I want to reach now,
Mm-hmm.
and let me tell you why I want to reach them. I guess that needs to be clear as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's because everybody is getting older.
Yeah.
And if we don't prepare the generation behind us, then what do you think we're going to be facing? And that's whether or not they want to receive it. That's whether or not they understand it. That's whether or not, because I've been following the statistics, and actually, I talked about this in 2013. I had, uh, um, we were actually at church, Sarita, and I'm not sure if you were there or not, but we were talking about. I remember talking about caregiving,
Mm-hmm.
and um, this study had came out in 2013 saying that in just to sum it up, that there was not going to be enough people to care, and I didn't really believe it. So I shared the statistics, and I look back. It'll be 10 years next year. I look back at their report, and their report is true.
Wow.
So actually, the care, people who give care is lowering, but the people who need care is rising. And so that's why I want to reach younger. I don't have to have an age with it, but it's the generation behind us to
Mm-hmm.
prepare the generation that's ahead of us, whether people are sick or not. See,
Yes.
because the trend, the statistics is already out there. The studies are already out there that there won't be enough people to care. And so what does that mean? What does that look like? Well, I can give you an example. I was in a meeting one day, and someone says, hey, I have these services. I'm already approved, but I can't find anybody to come help me.
Mm.
And that, I hear those stories all the time in some type of way. Now, are we paying attention to that? No. Are we concerned about that? I don't know. You know, but there again, we have to sound the alarm whether people understand all of it, because in actuality, what I was saying about when people go through vulnerable situations, then they're doing an outreach so they can get the help that they need, right? So I still am on a quest to tell you what's out there, to to let you know, regardless if you receive it or not. I'm not really worried about that. I used to be, but not anymore. So the generation to come, I want them as well versed
Mm-hmm.
and as strategic and as aware of the people that are already before them, and ready to serve in their area, because we're going to all need each other.
Yeah. And this is those numbers that data that you just shared,
Mm-hmm.
that's startling. I mean, thank you for sharing that. So
Mm-hmm.
this kind of leads me into, um, let's talk about what is respite, and let's talk about your conference coming up. Let's get to the
Oh
good part.
yeah.
So what exactly is rest? Because when we talked, I didn't really understand. I had never really heard of it.
Well, and that's a plug for my book. It's behind me. You see, on that red book that's on the shelf. It's called Caregiving and Understanding
Do you need
Respite.
to go get it? You can grab it right quick if you need to.
Oh wow, I hate. Well, I will. I meant to have a copy in front of me. I better not
No, well,
move.
that's okay if you don't. Yeah, but what we do, because it's on your website, so they can go. They
Yes.
can go look at your website. But yeah, let's just talk about respite and talk about your conference coming
And
up.
so respite means a period of delay. It
Okay.
means a break.
Okay.
And I bet you say I got a bunch of stories, but I heard that word, and I was I never forget it. I was working on a nursing unit, and I probably was a nurse 14 years by then. And I heard somebody say respite, and it actually was a hospice agency that came into the hospital that was
Mm-hmm.
going to do some hospice monitoring with a patient, because the family had was going on respite. So what it meant, so what respite means, it means break, period of delay, but for that family caregiver, it means a break from the care that they were giving their loved one.
Oh, okay.
And the reason I named the organization Caregivers Respite is because what we were doing, I felt like, was unconventional respite, which was a different type of respite, because we were aimed to take care of the caregiver
Wow. Okay.
and not the care recipient, and I still do that today. And we're doing that through the day of respite. That's our annual day. And when you were reading the bio, um we this is our 17th.
I'm gonna go ahead and shift to it so everybody can see it. There you go.
Okay. Yeah. This is our 17th day of respite. And so I like to think of it like this: if you could get a family caregiver to this event, we're going to take care of them for that day. Because I always want people to know this, and I'm going to post this shortly, that you can't be the best caregiver unless you get a break, okay? But what we're specifically trying to do is that if a person can get a break, then they can make it. In other words, we can't take you out of your caregiving situation, but if you get a break, if you get respite, if you get a reprieve, if you get a lull, a place to get away, if you get that, then you can make it. But specifically for us, we don't do our breaks are a little different, because if we want to give you a break with strategy, because we know you're going back. If we don't do something to enlighten your practice, encourage your heart, make you understand that you are already a statistic, that dementia caregivers, they really get it can affect their care. I mean, it can affect their health even 10 years later. So we know there's this is a health emergency, right? We want to make sure that while they're there, they're in taken care of, they understand their health, their value, their worth. They're going to understand a lot of things when we get there.
Okay.
But it's a strategic break. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this event, because I have it up here, everybody, this is the date. It's Monday, November the 7th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. I'm going to be there. I'll be there with Janice that day. And please, this is also scrolling. This is her website. So they can go register on your website, Janice, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Guys, she's explained it. So Janice, kind of what's the agenda? Kind of just give us a brief snippet what the agenda is on that day. What are you going to be doing?
Okay, I'll put it to you like this.
Okay.
That there's an informational part and then there's a care part.
Okay.
So just that is the strategy. And so I don't want to tell everything that they're going to be doing.
No. We don't want to tell everything.
And I say that because people have been asking me that for years. And you know what I used to say? I say, well, just come.
Just come. And it's free.
And register first.
Yeah.
And then come.
Yeah. Make sure you register. I've already registered when she sent me the website. So I already got my registration in. So make sure you have to register. But this event is free. So yeah, but go ahead, Janice. I'm sorry.
And it's a way to pay back, because really, if you're not aware, or if this has never really affected you, then in some type of way it may.
Yeah.
And what I really want people to do, if they're taking care of their aging, or if they have an aging parent, at this point, it doesn't matter if they're driving. It doesn't matter if you're not doing the direct care. People always say, "Oh, well, my brother's the caregiver." Well, you probably doing something. You're on a team, and so it's really, it may be a difference in duties, but it's not a difference in awareness. Because what she knows, you do too. You need to know too, even though you might not change the diaper now. I'm not asking you to.
Yeah.
You balance the books, you need to be there too. If you take her to the doctor, you need to be there. And this is information that you could take back to your families and make your caregiving stronger, because what we're seeing is so many things. And we'll discuss that in length at the conference, but I just know I get excited when we talk about it. It's a day that, and respite means break. So this is not the only way you can get respite now. I wrote the book because understanding respite is the word I want people to go back and use. And I don't want them to use it. Because you can use it so many different ways, really.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what I want you to understand for a family caregiver, that they
Okay.
need a break.
Okay.
Yes,
Janice,
ma'am.
this is awesome. And then she has a book. So everything is on her website. It's actually scrolling down at the bottom of the screen. So everybody go to her website. Now don't forget, you need to register for the event. Make sure you go on and register for the event. And make sure you get her book. Now, Janice that'll be, if they don't get the book online on the day, if they come, they'll be able to purchase your book there.
Yeah,
Right?
you'll be able to. And I want you to just put a few little dollars in your pocket. Uh, just just do that for me. But yes, I'll have some books there, and I'll be more than willing to sign them at 2 o'clock. If you can stay, that's going to be my time to sign every book. And actually, Sarita, if I could say this, that
Sure.
I don't want you to just get one book. I want you to get a bundle of books, because um, if this is affecting, if there's 53 million family caregivers, and if you're out of town and there's somebody else taking care of your loved one, you all need to know the same thing. And I would say the book is a tool. So I often tell people, get the book, but do the book, and
Yes.
do it often. It's like
Yes.
if somebody else came into your life that's aging, that you're responsible for, get the book out. Start working on the things that I tell you to, so you can be proactive instead of reactive. And that's what we want. If you're going to a family reunion, take a stack of books.
No, and that's the best way to go to get the message out. Like I
Yes,
said,
ma'am.
I'm excited to attend my first event. Like I said, I've
Yeah.
already registered. So, but Janice, I want to thank you so much
Oh,
for
wow.
coming on and talking about a topic that no one ever really think about or discuss. But those, I don't think I know. We're going to claim that you're going to have standing room only at this conference. To
Yay.
the point
In a
next year,
good way.
you're going to have to find another venue because
Good.
you're going to not have enough room.
Mhm. So, and therefore, I would say go ahead and register today, because we
Yes.
only have a limited amount of space, and we don't
Okay.
want people. We want people to be free and able, not to be, just on top of each other, and to let them feel like they're really getting a break. So,
Well, good. All right. Well, Janice, thank you again for coming and being my guest this month. Like I said, I'm excited for you. Like I said, guys, this is her website. Make sure you go on the website, register an event, go on the website, buy her book. And yeah, we're gonna do a 2-in-1. So
yes.
thank you again, Janice. So everybody, thank everybody for coming. Just to let you know, I talked about this last month, but the officially launch of my brand new exclusive Facebook support group called for Professional Women of Faith, called At His Service, has been launched. If you're interested in it, send me an email, or if you're my Facebook friend, you can connect to me and I'll send you an invite for it. This is what God has given me to help professional women of faith. Janice is a part of my group, so thank you, Janice. And this is my way of giving back to support the people who support people.
Yes, ma'am.
And yeah. So you guys can just send me an email or invite. This is exclusive content. I have all that already on there for people who join. As always, too, let's stay in touch. I'm actually going to have some more webinars coming up on soft skills. One in the next couple of weeks is actually going to be free of cost. It's going to be a good one. Don't want to miss it. This is my email address for all things Sarita. This is actually my official website. I'm happy to announce that I have a website. Most of you probably know that. And this is also my mailing address as well. All right. And this is what I do at the end. So I ask the question, What sphere or mountain are you influencing? Something you want to think about. What are you doing? What are you influencing? Okay. All right. All right. Thank everyone for coming for this Freedom Friday. And I always like to leave this quote from my good friend and Dr. Vicki Johnson. She says, soft skills get you through hard times. So thank you again for coming, and I will see you guys next month. Bye-bye. Thanks, Janice.
Thank you.